Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we're looking at these awesome pedals from GojiraFx. So, like most musicians just now, I've been spending far too much time looking at Instagram, and on one of my journeys through Instagram, I discovered this awesome pedal from GojiraFx. Now, this is their Subdark Meatboy Duff Can pedal, and to be totally honest with you, I ordered one purely based on how it looks. It didn't really matter how it sounded, I wanted this pedal. And of course I got the Octave at the same time, but we'll come on to that in a wee bit. So these pedals, when you look on their website, can be ordered with this graphic set, the Duff Can edition, which, as I say, comes with, look at that awesome control knob. It's actually a Duff beer can. But obviously that's just one of the versions. They'll do a lot of other standard graphics that they have on their site, as well as offering the ability to have custom graphics done. Now this is really cool, because you can send them the artwork that you want on the pedal, and they'll put it all on the pedal like this. And it looks brilliant when you see some of the examples that they've given. They also offer sort of customization of pedals from their range, as well as be able to discuss options with Scott as well. So really, it's a fantastic setup they have. And Scott, just a word of warning, I will be getting in touch soon about something a little bit interesting, so I'll keep you posted on that. But the spec of this pedal, obviously they've got the light and dark versions, which are the guitar versions, and this is the Subdark. Now this one is marketed as their bass version, and it is a bass pedal. This thing is one of the biggest sounding bass fuzzes I've used. So much bottom end to the sound, so much thickness and fullness to it, that it really, really is a fuzz bass. Fuzz bass? Bass fuzz. Like its description describes. So you've heard this one on its own at the start of the video, and you're going to hear it paired up with the Analog Octave Up in a bit. But before we get to that, I'd quite like to discuss the Octave Up, because to me, this is a bit of a secret weapon pedal now. This is their Analog Octave Up. It is a true Analog Octave Up. No controls, just what you'd expect from a pedal of that nature. And for me, it's a much more subtle effect on bass. It's not quite as in your face as it would be as a guitar pedal, particularly when paired with a fuzz. But on its own, this is a real secret weapon now. Because if you use this on its own, on guitar it's maybe not as much of a desirable effect. But on bass, it acts like a really, really raw sounding filter. When you use up on the high register, you do get a bit of that octave effect coming in, and it acts like a very pleasant but rough and glitchy lead boost. I find for lead playing, it just makes it that little bit more interesting than your standard bass tone when you're in that higher register. And if you try and play chords and things like that, it will do that as expected glitchy sound, which again in some situations might not work on a jazz gig, but for doing some intricate synth-based stuff or just kind of interesting pop music, it can be a great sound. But for me, the real kicker with this pedal is when you play in the low end, because it, as I say, it becomes more like an envelope filter. It becomes a bit more like a gritty filter than your sort of standard envelope pedal. Of course, you've not got the controls, but that's not an issue, because the sound this thing provides is just, it's subtle, but it's still quite raw, quite rough, and just a wonderful filter sound. So I highly recommend you try this out as a filter pedal as well as being an octave up. Now, as I've said, this is great on its own, and this is great on its own, but when you put the two together, it's awesome. As I said, this is more of a full fat kind of thick bass fuzz, but when you pair it up with this, it becomes more of a vintage fuzz. So more of that sound you're used to hearing on the sort of 60s and 70s recording for fuzz bass. A little bit less bottom end, a little bit more mid-focused, a bit more nasal in its approach, a bit glitchier, but it's a wonderful sound. And at the top of this video, you heard this one used more as a traditional modern fuzz tone. But in the next clip, let's listen to the two together and hear how they sound as more of a vintage fuzz tone, replicating some of those classic sort of 60s and 70s bass tones. So ultimately, what do I think of these pedals? Well, I don't think I've hidden it very well that I really enjoy using these pedals. I think they're fantastic, they're really high quality, they're handmade one at a time here in Scotland, with so many custom options available. Even the Analog Octave Up you can get with custom graphics. I mean, it's great. And then when you look at the price of them, it's fantastic. I mean, how he can make these pedals for that money, it's great. The customer really is getting a bargain with these. And the wait times aren't super long either, so I think it's a no-brainer. For the money you pay for them, go try them out. The link to their website is in the description of this video, and you'll see in the description what pedals exactly it is I've got, in case you've missed that. So if you've enjoyed this video, please click like and subscribe and click that bell icon, you know, all the obvious things everybody says. So you'll see when I post more videos like this. There's also the Pedal Grooves video playlist that's just started that will be expanding, where you'll see a lot more of these pedals paired up properly with a few other pedals as well. And if you've got any ideas for future content even, and want to know more about these pedals or anything else in today's setup, please comment below, and I'll try to reply to everybody that comments. So thank you very much for that, and until next time, keep working on those bass faces.